Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to the very first video of 2023 on here. I hope you've all had a good holiday season, celebrating whichever holiday you celebrate, and also that you've had a great New Year so far. I am sorry for being a little bit inactive on this account, but I'm simply just had nothing to post so far this year, but it all changes today. In this video, I'll be off to Portugal from Luton Airport for the second round of the GT Winter Series. I didn't participate on the first one because the race didn't really appear on my calendar this year. So my first race of the year is going to be taking place at Autodromo Estoril, as it's going to feature in the championship that I'm going to be racing in this year. The venue is a very historic F1 circuit where Ayrton Senna went and claimed his very first victory, which is not a bad way to start this year's plan. But you may be asking, what is this year's plan? Well, luckily enough, with FF Corsa and myself, we are competing in the Ferrari European Challenge, and I am entering as a pro driver, even though it's my first year. The Ferrari European Challenge is going to be racing around some iconic tracks this year, such as Misano, Austria Spielberg, Spa-Francorchamps, and we're even going to be the support race for the Le Mans 24 Hours, so that does mean we're going to be racing during the same week. And then we're all going to be finishing up in the Ferrari World Finals in Mugello Circuit. Basically, what I'm trying to get at here is that if you're not subscribed already, you really should be. This year is going to be extremely interesting. We're racing at an amazing championship, at an amazing level, driving some of the most iconic circuits in the world. So I don't think, as a motorsport fan, there's anything more you could be asking for. And it's all completely documented as well. As a viewer, in return for your subscription and your time, you'll be able to see almost like a paddock access worth of live content and how the weekend is progressing. So as I'm pretty sure you're all aware, I'm pretty new to this vlogging thing, so if you could give me some feedback or criticism in the comments, I'd really appreciate that. Oh, there she is. The first things to do as soon as we got off the plane was to A, locate the hire car, and B, get back to the hotel. It was around about 11:30 at night as soon as we got to the hotel, so I was in real need of some sleep after a full day of university and travelling most of Europe. Fortunately enough, the hotel was pretty nice, so no complaints from me on that side of things.
Not bad, eh?
Okay, well, I've just got in to the hotel. It's about, 11:10 at night now. The room is pretty sick, can't lie. Really looking forward to tomorrow. It's going to be quite an interesting day. I've not actually seen my my car in the flesh as of yet, so that's going to be really exciting. I've only seen pictures of it so far. It looks really racy. But yeah, no, today is going to be fucking awesome. You know, driving my own car for the first time, seeing it in the flesh for the first time around a brand new track, historic F1 venue. So yeah, I can't wait. I really can't wait. So I've got to be up early tomorrow morning, get some scranning, and yeah, should be an exciting day. Look forward to it. Check in with you all in the morning. So, day one of the weekend started with us rocking up at the track pretty early in the morning to make sure we were as ready as possible. So, just so you're all up to speed, let me give you a rundown on how a weekend like this runs. On Sunday there are two qualifying sessions, both 10 minutes long, which determine where you start for race 1 and race 2 respectively. Your average starting position or average qualifying position is where you start for the endurance race. Race 1 and 2 were sprint races, 25 minutes long each, and the endurance race, or the main feature race, was an hour long on Sunday. So I've made it in one piece. I'm here in Estoril, FF Corsa of course. There's the little truck out there, but this is the garage that we're going to be working out of for the next couple of days. All of our tyres here, we've got loads of tyres all the way down the back there. You know, we're going to be fucking really busy, really productive these next couple of days, but just want you to have a look at the car real quickly. Oh, have a look at that princess. Pretty good if you ask me. my first time seeing it in the flesh today, so it's yeah, just taking it all in. Pretty piece of kit. Yeah, gotta say, very happy with how it's come out. Just gonna see if I can quickly head over to the pit lane. As you can see, it's pretty damp today, so we're going to be starting off on wets. Not even driven that car yet, so I'm going to have to do a lot of bedding in. Yeah, definitely still wet. Pace car over there is going to do some laps, so yeah, should be exciting. So I'm sure most of you guys could have predicted it. The very first session that I did in 2023 was absolutely soaking wet. Could you believe it? Seemed like every time I got into this car, I was driving in the wet. So for the day, we were just bedding in some brake pads, plenty of brake pads that is, to make sure we lasted the entire weekend, and taking the tops off of wet tyres, just in preparation for qualifying and the races tomorrow. So as I'm peeling out of the pits here and going onto the track, like I said earlier, we're just bedding in some new tyres and some new brake pads, just to make sure that we have enough sets, because we have a lot of running to do. As you can see, after that Porsche just passed me, it's kicking up a fair amount of water. It sort of goes to show how wet the track is today, and you know, considering that this is a new car for me personally and a new track, it's sort of hard to gauge where the limit is. Although it's a steep learning curve, it's a good one to get out of the way early on in the weekend. As you can see here, I'm just coming into the pits once again, filmed by Ed, one of the members of FF Corsa. And we're just coming in to have a change of tyre. Then the guys push me straight back out and we go again. In the afternoon sessions, however, the track dried up quite substantially and we managed to get some decent running on slicks. Just so you guys have a decent idea of what the track layout is here, and if you don't know so already, I'm going to take you through a full lap in the dry around this amazing circuit. So coming down the start finish line here, the home straight, we're aiming for 270 kilometers an hour just before we brake at the 200 meter board. There we go, slamming through the gears, going into turn 1, clipping the apex pretty late and getting on the power pretty early to make sure we get a good run out of there using all the track possible. Up into 5th for this 90 right, take the curb and use all the exit possible. Then you want to pitch the car, the front of the car, into the corner, as it is an uphill and slightly banked hairpin. Using all the track exit going into turn 4 now. Braking, you want to sort of V this corner off because the exit speed and how early you can get onto the throttle is really important. Why? Because we're going onto a fast straightaway here with a little bit of a kink, which is completely flat, so the quicker you can get the turbo spooled up, the better. On the right hand side, we're looking for the 150 meter board, just braking a little bit before then going into this banked left-hander. You've got to be a little bit patient with the throttle here. Just make sure that you straighten it out before you do so you don't get any wheel spin. Coming into turn 7, I believe now. It's quite a cool corner, this one. Apex it quite late just there because it sort of scoops up and takes you under, using all the track on the left hand side and then wallop in this curb before the 2 hairpins which were installed during the 1994 season after the tragic death of Ayrton Senna. Smashing both curbs, getting a little bit sideways after a clip some water, then using the curb on entry, using the curb in the middle of the second to last corner, and then round this last one, just making sure you're looking after that front left tyre because it is a real doozy. And then once you see this last apex, full throttle, using all the exit, and that completes a decent little lap of Estoril. So back at the hotel, that completes the first day out 2. Probably racked over 200 minutes so far today. I'm absolutely knackered. I did an hour's stint in preparation for the race tomorrow because we've got an endurance race, which is the 3rd race of the day. So yeah, safe to say my back is kind of ruined. The seat is sort of pinching a little bit, but we can all get that sorted. Very promising though. A lot of speed and yeah, plenty to learn still, of course, but so far really good. So jumping into qualifying then on the Sunday, yet again the morning was very wet, just like Saturday, so our learnings from the day before became really useful. Going into the qualifying session, I'd really hoped that I'd be able to pole it in my respective class, Cup 1, but I also wanted to see what we'd be like against the other GT3 cars and other machinery out there. But as we come across the line here, I do set my very fastest lap of the session. I came in just after this because I knew that I'd be able to get pole with that time. So I've just come back from qualifying. I managed to pole it in both sessions, thankfully enough, which was quite good. In group, that is, there's a couple of GT3 cars and Porsches, which are a little bit quicker. But yeah, no, it's a great start to the day. We were quite a way ahead in comparison to the rest of the field. So you know, it was really greasy out there today. It was forecasted to be dry all day, but you know, it was supposed to be dry all weekend, and yeah, I don't think we've had too much running in the dry in comparison in the wet. So yeah, no, it's been a good start so far. So yeah, just gonna make sure that I can bring it home at least, but I don't think I'll try and push my heart out, to be honest. They're similar length races to what the Ferrari Challenge is going to be. So it's going to be a 25-minute race here. It's a 30-minute race for the Ferrari European Challenge, which will be good. But yeah, look forward to it. It's going to be cool to get underway for the first race of the year. Started in polling class and 10th overall. Some good drivers here as well. So yeah, look forward to it. So my very first race of 2023 about to begin. The track has dried up just enough for slicks, but as you can see here, the shade has meant that the start-finish line has not dried up whatsoever. So as I'm pulling away for the formation lap, the rears are being lit up. I'm just trying to keep as much temperature as I can into the tyres because most of the lap is quite wet. But after a little bit of weaving about, we're just about to get underway. So it's lights out and away we go for this first sprint race here. Going down into turn 1, as you can see, as we come up into the shade, it's really wet. Everyone's braking very early to make sure that we don't have a massive pile up. A little bit of smoke from a lockup from a GT3, I think it was. I almost get sideways by hooking the curb and getting dampness on the track, on the wheels rather, but we've not lost a position and we've held on going into the 90 right. Maybe have a look at up the inside of this Porsche, but I think better of it as it's really damp on the inside. Just trying to make sure we keep our position for now, and I just want to settle into this race. I've not raced for quite a while, so I really just want to bed myself in here. Unfortunately, however, before we could even get underway, we were plagued by a safety car. There was quite a shunt, which you'll be able to see in this next clip here, where the car, as you can see to the left of your screen, has ended up in the barrier. It was a GT4 CV performance car, and yeah, looks like it needed a hefty bill after that. So as we're lining up for the safety car restart, I can see the cars in front of me have already started to go. The guy in front of me must be having a nap or something because he's not going, and I can't overtake him obviously before the safety car line. Now I'm tucked right up his slipstream going down this main straight. The Ferrari Challenge cars have a little bit more poke, so I think about to the inside and get scared off knowing that there's going to be a large puddle of water in just a couple of metres time. I didn't really want to wreck my own car before the season had even properly started yet. But we're going to stick behind him for now and see if we can pick him off at a later point at the track using our extra horsepower, which we seem to be able to use only a couple corners later. The guy in front of us picked up a little bit of dirt and had a bit of a squirmy exit. We get a really solid run through this kink right here and tucking into the slipstream, making use of the extra power, just brake a little bit later than him to make sure we've got the inside for the corner. Bosh, absolutely done. Now we've just got to focus on the guys in front and see how many positions we can make up in these remaining 18 minutes or so. Not even a couple corners later though, another safety car comes out. I'm not particularly sure as to what the reasoning was for the second one here, but it did mean that we had to wait another long amount of time before we could even get racing again. On this next safety car restart, however, I'm thinking about how we can optimally use this extra power outage that we have. And going into the safety car restart, as long as I'm tucked up right behind the car in front, I'll easily be able to sail by them because we have arguably the most power on the grid. So as you can see here, we're just flying past the 319 Porsche car, just a little bit before the start-finish line there. brake a little bit earlier than he does, but as you're going to see as we're going into the corner, he's never going to make that corner in a month of Sundays, and we just take the inside line, don't focus about him, close the door on him on exit, and just focus on these two battling cars in front and see what we can make of it. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. I did have a look up the inside of the car in front, but quickly after that, another safety car was deployed, and then the red flag straight after that, because there was a lot of debris on track with not a lot of time remaining. So I'm sure the race control had a decent enough reason to red flag this session, and we all came into the pits just afterwards. That did mean, however, we actually did win the race in class, and I think we finished 9th overall from about 11th or 10th. So yeah, we did make up a couple positions, and I'll be happy with the win in class. On to the next one. So, heading into race 2 now, another 25-minute sprint session, just like the first race. Hopefully we're going to get a couple more racing laps under our belt this time in the dry, unlike the first session where I think we only managed about 4.5 full racing laps. Not very great value for money, but hey, that's how racing is sometimes. Getting some good temperature into the tyres and working the brakes hard. Now coming towards the end of the formation lap, this time I am on the left hand side if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm on the left hand side, just behind this grey Porsche that we passed earlier. I know with these Porsches around me that I am actually quicker than most of them in the dry. I think they have a softer tyre in the wet, hence why they qualified in front of me. So I know if I can just make sure that I'm as decisive as possible through this 25-minute race, I'm going to be able to finish on the podium hopefully overall. But as we go in for the start here, you can't see the lights because of the, how low I am to the ground in comparison to how tall the roofs are of the cars in front. So I had a spotter there for me, similar to how you have in iRacing. So this means I have absolutely zero excuse if I'm going to miss the start here. Coming up to the start finish light is lights out and away we go. I'm going to get stuck between these two Porsches here and an LMP car, I think it is. That means that the car inside gets a little bit of a jump, and I actually lose a position of the inside because I have to give the Porsche room going round here. I did think about just hanging it around the outside, but the Porsche in front of me just checked up ever so slightly and that put me off. Defending going into the 90 right here, these two are squabbling quite hard and they're going to for the next couple of corners, so I just make sure I stick it up the inside, try and follow the yellow Porsche through. Grey Porsche now is on my left hand side, but we managed to get superior traction to him, now drag him into turn 4. Now we're just stuck behind this this pink and yellow Ford and an LMP car. We're going to see if I can get up the inside of him going into this kink. I did think right here that he's definitely not seeing me, he's just going to turn straight across me. So I didn't fancy wiping myself out on the very first lap. But he's going to have a go up the inside of the LMP car because we have a lot more power and straight line speed than they do. Get chopped off the front of the nose by the LMP car, and I just have to stick behind him for the time being. But as I'm coming through this third sector here, I'm really hustling this LMP car in front of me. It seems to me that, you know, as soon as we go to the low speed and straight line sections, that I'm much quicker than him. But as we get to the high speed corners here, he's got so much more grip than I do. Probably because of the lightness and the aero of that car in front. So you really had to play to your car's strengths and make sure you got the most out of it. Funnily enough, however, another safety car was brought out. So it did mean that we had to shuffle up again and reform for another safety car restart. It did mean, however, going on the safety car restart, I could get a slingshot and make sure that I use all the power available to me to get past this LMP car right here. So as you can see, I'm waiting for the perfect time to strike, which is now, but I just overtake him just before the start finish line, and it did give me a drive-through penalty, which I was given on the very last lap of the race, so we didn't know about this until the race had actually finished, funnily enough. I still get the move done though, round the outside as clean as you like, so a very good move from me. And then we're stuck behind this yellow and pink Porsche once again, going through the last couple of corners here, just before the main straight. We're going to see if we can set him up into turn 1, taking a little bit wider so we can square off the corner just a little bit more. We seem to lack a little bit of mid-corner speed in comparison to these guys. Now I'm fully wedged right behind him into the slipstream now, making use of all the power that I have, pulling out the slipstream to go up to the inside, trying to spot my braking point, braking a little bit later than I usually would do, but it's meant that I've gone so far past the corner, and the guy behind me, which I tried to overtake, has done the old switcheroo and managed to get me on the exit of turn 1. But we get a bit of a better run through turn 2. He leaves the door open, probably not expecting me to be there. He then sees me and leaves me way too much room, so I'm like, I'll have that, thank you. You get better traction coming out the hairpin though, so I'm going to have to stick it round the outside of the next corner and hopefully get him on the main straight. The LMP car is right behind us at this point, knocking on our door, so I need to make sure that I get in front of him now, otherwise I'm just going to be held up by this LMP car when he overtakes me. Into this slipstream, tuck out, find the 150 metre brake point, brake there, and straight up the inside. Lovely stuff. That move had meant that we've moved from about 10th position up into 5th now, but as you could have imagined by now, we've not had a safety car for a long enough time. So the safety car has come out once again, and on the restart here, just skipping on forwards because nobody wants to see the 2 laps behind the safety car we did. On the restart, tucking up right behind the Porsche and making sure we can do the exact same again, using all the power available to us. Coming out this corner here, we've got a really good exit and a nice run, sticking into the slipstream, then pulling out just before we make collision with him, using all the possible sorts of advantages we have, braking at the 200 metre board, making sure not to go straight on once again. He misses the corner, and then we move up into P4. Now the guy in front of us is for P3, and a couple laps later we managed to get a really good run at the last corner, stuck right into his slipstream once again. This move's going to be done a little bit later, so we look into the inside, he's come off his racing line. Up the inside we broke, and I've just released the pressure midway through the braking zone a little bit too much, and he's got the old switcheroo on us again. Can't believe I've made the same mistake twice, but we're not going to let it happen a third time. So coming around the last corner here, we've got another good exit going onto the main straight. We're a little bit further behind this time, so we're sticking into the slipstream for a little bit longer, building up the revs, building up the speed, pulling out a little bit earlier to make sure I'm well prepped. Brake just before he does, but trail off the brake earlier, and then make sure we take the apex up the inside of him, and boom, straight into P3. But one thing to bear in mind is that the LMP car is still right behind us. It meant that subsequent laps, going on to the last lap here, we really had to fight hard for our overall position. I leave the door open and make sure I brake early and let him go to the inside and pull off the infamous old switcheroo on him, and catch him by surprise here, just making sure that we get the run alongside him and take the inside into turn 3 there and close off the door going into turn 4. And we managed to hold on for the time being, but it's getting really close now, especially whilst these next couple of corners are quite twisty. It's definitely playing into his favour for the rest of this lap. But coming into the third sector of the very final lap, there's lap traffic in the way. I need it to move as quick as possible. It gets in the way though, and I have to miss the apex of the second part of the chicane as much as possible to avoid crashing into him. I can see he's literally right on my bumper here, and we're going into the corner, the high speed corner, where he makes the most ground on us, and well, best exit possible, I have to leave a little bit of a gap, but I can see he's going to come up the inside, so I drive towards the apex to make sure I close off any sort of chance he has. And it means that as soon as we get onto the power, we've got no more threat of him, and we come across the line to take P3. To get P3 overall in a field where we probably have the third class-wise quickest car, I think it really goes to show how much of a great job FF Course and the guys there were doing this weekend. We had the car really set up for a good strong pace, and it paid dividends. So for the third and final time in this video and this weekend, we've got another race on our hands. This time it's the endurance race, which I said earlier is 60 minutes long or an hour long, and where we start for this race is the average between qualifying 1 and qualifying 2. So it meant we were going to be starting P10 again on the grid on the left hand side, which is familiar territory for us, as we've been starting there for Sprint Race 1 and Sprint Race 2. So we've still got a lot of work to do to make sure we can get to the front of this field, but it's a really long race, and I'm just going to make sure I take my time and bring the car home, because that's the most important part of this weekend. We're not here for end results, we're just here for data and references for when we come here later on in the championship for the Ferrari European Challenge. So pulling away from my grid spot here, it's just a matter of making sure that I've got enough temperature in the tyres and the brakes are working. So we're just going to do a little bit of weaving before we start enrolling into the formation, and as we do here, we're just peeling onto the main straight now. This is probably the slowest we've gone out of all the 3 startups, so I'm pretty sure everything's going to be quite tense, but we're just going to try and make sure we can stay switched on and go when the lights go out, and make sure we can make the most out of this start as possible, because I really want to make sure that I can get ahead of these guys. As I've proven in the 2 races before, we are much quicker than. So as the lights go out, we're wasting no time here and getting past 2 cars, the Porsche and the prototype, and then heading up the inside possibly of this next car. We think better of it, and then the Porsche on the left hand side comes flying past, but he misses the corner. We close the door on him and we make sure we focus on what's going on ahead of us, going into the 90 rights here. Everyone's having a little bit of a jostle around for position. I semi-defend to make sure there's no threat of anybody coming up behind me. I try and think about going up the inside of this Porsche here, but he seems to have a lot better traction than I do, so going into turn 4 here, we're just going to consolidate with what we have and just press on and settle into this race, most importantly. But coming off that last corner, we've had a really strong exit in comparison to the guy in front, so we're going to use all the extra horsepower that we have and dive up the inside, spotting the 150 metre braking point, and just rolling the car through, making sure we don't miss the corner. And we've completed another successful overtake, which has taken us up into P4 now. Now fast forwarding just a little bit onto the end of lap 2, we've caught up to the guy in P3 now, and we're all over the back of him at this point. He seems to have a little bit better rotation at the slower speed stuff, but we just have him down in a straight line. So we're just going to make sure around this last corner we get a really strong exit coming onto there, going to 100% throttle later on. We're having to back off a little bit because the tyres are a little bit cold at this stage, but we've still got a really good exit, carrying a lot more speed off of him, and yeah, stuck in the slipstream. He defends slightly, but we're going to go up the inside anyway, spot our braking point and just trail off the brake, so we pull alongside him, make sure we hit the apex up the inside of him, and then squeeze the door and exit, and there we have it. We're up into 3rd place now. Amazing start. But the action is definitely not stopping there. 6 laps later, we've come across the first piece of lap traffic today, and we're having to go all the way around the outside of this GT4. There's a load of gravel over there, if you can see, but I didn't want to get my tyres dirty. But the LMP car with the superior grip goes flying around my outside, and he's taking P3 off of us. He is the faster car, unfortunately, so it looks like for now there's not a lot we can do to help our cause. A little while later, fast forwarding 12 laps on, you can see the same LMP car served his mandatory pit stop, and he's come out in front of us. It does mean though he is nearly a full lap behind and we weren't able to lap him. So at this point he's probably a good 20 seconds ahead of us. So it doesn't really seem like we've got the legs on him to overtake him and keep him behind us, unfortunately. So we're going to have to settle for the time being in P4. That same lap, however, we're coming in for our own mandatory pit stop. That means we have to be stationary for at least 2 minutes and then we're allowed to go back onto the track again, which, trust me, it feels like an absolute eternity. But we've pit really quite late into this race in comparison to the others, so it means we've not had the benefit of having cooled down and repressured tyres, unlike the others. So we may have fallen down the grid just a little bit, but it does mean when we come out, and as you can see there, we have lost a decent amount of time because that Porsche has just overtaken us. It does mean we're going to have fresher tyres and tyres which are more manageable temperature-wise towards the end of this race. A little while later, however, you can see the 2 Porsches up ahead. They're battling really hard, and the guy on the right gets a really poor exit, so we looked up to the inside to spook him. He leaves a little bit of space, and yeah, we just pile in and make sure we get the move done as quick as possible. So now we're back up into P5 now on track, and we've got P4 right in front of us. So we're going to try and hunt him down and sort of be best of the rest off of the podium, if that makes sense. So coming out of T1, you can see visually we've gained quite a bit on the car ahead, and there's a lot of lap traffic as well, so I'm going to try and use that to my advantage. But on the left there, you can see there's a massive yellow wave flag, and there's actually on the right, I don't know if you guys saw, but there was the LMP car that was in P3 this entire time. That's just that's ended up in the barrier. He must have had a collision with the GT3 car. But that means now we're in P4 and the Porsche on the right there is in P3. We're just going to race till the safety car comes out, which is very shortly after this moment here. As you can see, we've lined up yet again behind the safety car. It wouldn't be a GTWS race without one. But yeah, we've got P3 right in front of us for the taking, and I know I'm quicker than him. So I really need to get past him as quick as possible if we want to make sure we can get this one to stick. So on this safety car restart, we're going to try and do what we've done so many times so far this weekend. We're going to try and sling it up the inside of the car in front going into T1. We've not had a good exit, but we're still in slipstream range and we're using all the power available to us. As we go past there in an external shot, we're going to see if we can look up the inside of this Porsche, probably not make a move on the GT3 car because we're not trying to get greedy and cause an accident, but we're going to make sure we can stick it up the inside into turn 1, close the door on him and just focus now on pushing and putting some good laps in, making no mistakes and trying to build up a gap to the car behind us because we really want this overall podium here. I think it'd be a really good way to end the weekend. And what do you know, only a couple laps later the end of the race comes and we have done it. We're just nursing the car back home now, trying to make sure we're not going to blow a tyre or anything like that, but we're on the main straight now, nothing's going to stop us, and we're going to claim P3 once again in the overall classification, which is a mega result in the endurance race. Can't say I can be too much happier after that result. Really good performance by everybody in the team. Just going to pull alongside the Mercedes here into our grid spot for the trophy presentation. I would just like to thank the guys at FF Corsa now for what an amazing job they've done this weekend, and you know, this result is theirs as much as it is mine, and I couldn't have done it without them, so I look forward to working with them for the rest of the year. It's going to be a good one.
So that's the end of today. Pole in all the races in our class and came away with the victory in our class as well. Yeah, it's been amazing. We in the second race we managed to hang on for P3, but I think we got a later penalty afterwards. And then in the endurance race we managed to get P3 as well. We're definitely, in terms of like actual machinery, not the fastest car there. There's GT3 cars which are fast, and there's Pro Drives in there, but we didn't finish far behind them. So I'll take that. We got some overall podiums, which I didn't think we'd be able to do, but we've all done really well as a team. I've learned so much this weekend as well. It's been great, and yeah, now everyone's packing up. Don't know if you can see there. You can definitely see over here. It's like a bomb's coming. It's pretty frantic to get out of here as quick as possible. So yeah, I just want to thank the guys at FF Corsa for you know, supporting them and believing in my ability. We've come away with a lot of valuable data and a lot of seat time. I've not driven this car a lot, especially my own car, which has been amazing by the way. But yeah, no, amazing trip all in all. Lots learned, and yeah, really looking forward to the next one in Valencia. So yeah, cheers.